The galaxy was vast, dark, and indifferent. Stars flickered faintly in the void, planets rotated silently, and civilizations rose and fell without notice. Yet, on one small, unremarkable planet, the course of destiny was about to change forever. I had landed on Zythera 7, a planet orbiting a dying star, under a diplomatic mission meant to observe alien cultures. My species, the humans, had always been underestimated. Across the stars, most considered us fragile, emotional, and poorly equipped for the harsh realities of interstellar life. But there was something about humanity that even the most advanced aliens could not measure: our capacity for connection. The first time I saw her, I didn't notice the subtle glow of her translucent skin, or the way her wide luminescent eyes reflected the dying light of the planet's twin suns. I only saw a small figure running toward me, unafraid, with arms outstretched. Her mother came rushing after her, fear etched into every gesture. But as she reached us, she spoke words I would never forget. "My child has chosen you as her father." The child's tiny hands clung to mine as though she had known me for a lifetime. Around us, the colony of Zytherans watched in silence, their traditions rigid and centuries old. In a species where choice was communal and arranged by lineage, this act of individual selection was unheard of. Yet here it was, an unspoken declaration, a trust placed entirely in a human. In that moment, I realized the galaxy underestimated humans once again. We were not just survivors, strategists, or explorers. We were bridges between worlds, capable of empathy, courage, and understanding that even the most advanced alien civilizations struggle to grasp. Over the next hours, I learned about her world. Zythera 7 was beautiful and dangerous. Floating rivers of liquid crystal, glowing forests that whispered with unseen life, and cities suspended in the air by technology far beyond anything humans had yet built. Yet amid all this marvel, there was fear. The Draxian Swarm, a ruthless and ancient alien race, had been scouting this sector. Their reputation for destruction preceded them, and whispers of their coming had stirred unease across the colony. The child, whose name I learned was Lyra, never let go of my hand. She guided me through her home, showing me places of learning, play, and tradition. And through her eyes, I understood something profound. Humans were exceptional not because of strength or speed, but because we inspire trust. Where other species relied on hierarchy, intimidation, or fear, humans could form bonds, instantaneous, unbreakable bonds, that even aliens felt. Her mother watched me closely, evaluating every reaction. I spoke softly, explaining my purpose, my respect for their culture, and my desire to understand, not dominate. By the time the twin suns set, painting the crystalline rivers in molten gold and violet, a fragile trust had been established. The colony no longer saw me as an outsider. I had become part of their world, chosen by Lyra as her protector, her friend, her surrogate family. But trust is fragile, and the galaxy is merciless. That night, under a sky filled with distant starships and faint glimmers of approaching dread, the first signs of the Draxian Swarm appeared. Scouts, sleek and lethal, moved silently through the void, their intentions unmistakable. They sought conquest, annihilation, and control. To them, a human on this planet was an anomaly, a threat that needed elimination. Yet humanity does not cower. Even as the colony slept, systems on board my ship and within the human expedition activated silently. Contingency protocols, designed for centuries for situations like this, came online. Our presence on Zythera 7 was not passive. We were observers, diplomats, and, if necessary, protectors. Humans may have been underestimated, but underestimation is a weapon we wielded naturally. As Lyra slept that night, I vowed silently to protect her world. The galaxy may see humans as ordinary, but we were not. We endure, adapt, and rise. And when faced with threats that others would flee, we act with precision, courage, and a sense of morality that even the Draxian could not comprehend. By dawn, the twin suns cast long shadows across the crystalline forests. The first Draxian scout vessels were detected in orbit. I activated communication channels with Earth, sending the earliest warning. Draxian Swarm approaching Zythera 7. Colony at risk. Preparing for engagement. Lyra awoke, sensing the tension in the air. She looked at me with unwavering trust, her tiny hands clasping mine again. In that moment, I understood what humans could do that others could not. We could inspire courage across species, turn fear into resolve, and forge alliances from the smallest spark of trust. The galaxy may underestimate us. It always does. But as Lyra's hand rested in mine, I knew humanity was about to teach another civilization a lesson they would never forget. And so, the bond between human and alien child became the first spark of a larger story, a story of courage, trust, and the unstoppable force that is humanity. The twin suns of Zythera 7 rose over the crystalline forests, casting prismatic reflections across the floating rivers. Yet the beauty of the morning was a fragile illusion. Every sensor, every radar, every orbital watchtower blinked red with the same warning: Draxian swarm detected approaching. The colony stirred in quiet panic. Lyra's mother gathered her children while elders ran through archaic protocols, but the fear in their eyes betrayed their inexperience against a species that had conquered dozens of star systems. To the Draxian, humans were a curiosity, a primitive species that might be amusing, but ultimately insignificant. That assumption, as always, would be their undoing. I stood at the command interface of our temporary human outpost. My fingers danced over glowing controls, activating defense grids and orbital shields. The human mind excelled where others hesitated. Where the aliens relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, we relied on anticipation, calculation, and adaptability. Sir, multiple warships exiting hyperspace vectors, scouts and dreadnoughts, Lieutenant Chen reported, her voice calm but edged with urgency. They are coordinating to encircle the colony. I activated the first layer of orbital defenses. Energy beams hummed as the plasma grids charged, shimmering like a spiderweb across the upper atmosphere. In the forest below, Lyra and the other children were moved to secure shelters, away from the main engagement zones. The first strike arrived silently. Draxian scouts, sleek and lethal, emerged from the void, their hulls gleaming like obsidian under the twin suns. Their weapons discharged, sweeping across the outer defenses, but the human reaction was faster. Guided railguns targeted key nodes, shredding alien hulls before the Draxian even realized they had been engaged. Focus on the flank formation, I ordered. Predict their trajectory and intercept before they breach the shields. The engagement was surgical. Each human maneuver was calculated, preemptive, and lethal. Draxian fighters attempted to exploit the planet's gravity anomalies, diving through dense atmospheric columns, but human gunners anticipated the vectors and intercepted every strike. The aliens had never faced an opponent so adaptive, so patient, so unrelenting. Meanwhile, in the village, Lyra watched through a small observation crystal. She didn't understand the complexity of orbital combat, but she understood courage. She understood that humans acted not out of recklessness, but with purpose. And she clung to the trust she had placed in me, the bond that transcended species, a bond that would become the colony's shield. The battle intensified. Draxian dreadnoughts unleashed volleys of hyperkinetic plasma, cutting through the upper atmosphere like molten lightning. Yet human energy grids absorbed and redirected much of the impact. Orbital strike drones deployed with precise timing, targeting alien engines and weapon arrays. Within minutes, what had appeared as an overwhelming assault began to crumble. High Commander Zgareth's voice echoed faintly through intercepted transmissions. Destroy the human. Annihilate them. Do not underestimate. I smiled grimly. Underestimation is a weapon humans wield naturally. We are patient, adaptable, and, above all, unpredictable. The Draxian relied on fear to dominate, but humans convert fear into resolve, chaos into strategy. As the engagement reached its apex, I deployed the final layer of defense, automated strike pods equipped with adaptive plasma projectors. They moved through the swarm like hunting wolves, homing in on critical targets and neutralizing them before they could react. Ships exploded silently in orbital space, sending fragments cascading through the atmosphere like falling stars. Below, the colony watched in awe. They had never seen such precision, such calm execution, such lethal elegance. Lyra's mother whispered, "These humans, they are not like anyone else." By the end of the first engagement, the Draxian swarm was forced into retreat, a fraction of its numbers destroyed, its morale shattered. It was a warning, not a victory. Humanity had shown what patience, intelligence, and unity could accomplish against a seemingly unstoppable enemy. But I knew this was only the beginning. The Draction would return, larger, more calculated, more merciless. The galaxy is vast, and patience is tested over centuries, not hours. Yet one truth had been reaffirmed. Humans, underestimated for so long, were not just survivors, they were predators, strategists, and protectors of those who trusted them. As night fell over Zythera 7, I walked with Lyra through the glowing forests. The battle above had ended, but its lessons remained in every shadow, every glint of crystal, every ripple of the floating rivers. The child looked up at me, her eyes reflecting starlight, and said simply, "You will protect us, won't you?" I placed my hand on her small shoulder and replied, with a certainty born of both duty and instinct, "Yes, and I will make sure no one ever underestimates humanity again." The galaxy had glimpsed the edge of what humans could do. The Draction swarm had learned, for the first time, that patience, precision, and courage could topple even the most terrifying of empires. And as the stars glittered silently above Zythera 7, I knew the next chapter of our story, the escalation, the deeper hunt, the true clash of civilizations, was coming. Humanity had awakened fully, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Draction swarm had retreated, but the calm was a lie. The galaxy never waits, and patience is the currency of survival. From the shadows of space, the swarm observed, calculated, and prepared for their next strike. They believed that by withdrawing, they could regroup, reorganize, and crush the human anomaly that had so brazenly repelled them. They had underestimated humans once, and they would pay the price again. In the command deck of the Terra Dominus, the human flagship orbiting Zythera 7, Commander Rian Holt studied the incoming threat. The swarm's fleet was vast, comprised of hundreds of dreadnoughts, agile strike fighters, and orbital bombardment platforms. Yet what humans lacked in numbers, they compensated for with ingenuity. Every system, every strategy, every contingency had been rehearsed in simulations and tested in theory. Now it was time to act. Lieutenant Chen, synchronize all strike pods. Prepare orbital decoys and adaptive plasma arrays, Rian ordered. His voice was calm, detached, calculated. There was no room for panic. Hesitation was lethal. The first wave of Draction ships approached silently, their black hulls reflecting the starlight like shards of obsidian. Sensors detected hundreds of small fighter squadrons attempting flanking maneuvers, while dreadnoughts formed a slow, menacing formation meant to intimidate and annihilate. Then, humans acted. Orbital defense grids activated simultaneously, forming a lattice of deadly energy beams across the upper atmosphere. Strike drones deployed from the flagship and moved through the enemy fleet like predators in a carefully choreographed dance. Each Draction fighter that entered the grids was intercepted before it could fire, leaving only fragments of metal and plasma trails as testament to human precision. Below, Zythera 7's crystalline forest trembled under the stress of the distant volleys, yet the human command ensured minimal collateral damage. Lyra and her colony were moved to underground shelters reinforced with adaptive shielding, while human engineers monitored the entire planet's surface, redirecting power to critical defensive nodes. The Draction High Command, observing their losses, sent a communication, distorted by static and rage. "Humans, you are insignificant. Withdraw or be destroyed." Rian's response was broadcast across all available channels. "You underestimated us once. Your arrogance will be your undoing." The counterstrike began in earnest. Guided railguns pierced the hulls of dreadnoughts, disabling their propulsion and leaving them drifting helplessly. Adaptive plasma pods targeted weapon arrays, neutralizing entire firing sections before they could engage. Draction tactics, honed over millennia, were rendered useless against humans' ability to predict, adapt, and execute flawlessly. In the midst of chaos, a squadron of human boarding ships deployed. The Draction believed they were impervious, that their shields and defensive protocols would prevent intrusion. They were wrong. Humans infiltrated the command hubs of the largest dreadnoughts, taking control of critical systems and turning their own ships into weapons against the fleet. Back on Zythera 7, the colony watched in awe. Children clutched hands, elders whispered prayers, and even hardened scientists paused to marvel. Humanity was not just defending, they were orchestrating, strategizing, and dominating in a way that defied belief. The child, Lyra, watched from her safe shelter, eyes wide with understanding. This was the species she had chosen, the species that would not falter in the face of annihilation. Hours passed. Entire formations of the Draxian fleet were neutralized, their remnants fleeing into the void. The battle above had been decisive, a combination of strategy, technology, and human willpower that no alien species had encountered before. Rhiannon Holt transmitted a final message across the swarm's communications. Leave this system, or face total destruction. Humanity does not yield, and we do not forget. The Draxian retreated, their pride shattered, their morale broken. But Rhiannon knew this was temporary. The swarm would return, larger, more prepared, more desperate. And humanity would be ready. That night, beneath Zythera 7's glowing twin suns, I walked with Lyra through the still-burning forests. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and scorched crystal, yet there was triumph in every step. "You saved us," Lyra said softly. I knelt and looked into her wide eyes, filled with trust and wonder. "We protected your home, and we will continue to protect it. Not because it is ours, but because that is what humans do. We endure. We adapt. We rise." Above us, the stars glimmered silently. The galaxy had witnessed the first true counterstrike of humanity, and the message was clear: never underestimate humans. Not their courage, not their strategy, and certainly not their resolve. The Draxian may have thought they were apex predators, masters of fear and domination. But humanity had proven something far more dangerous. We are patient, adaptable, and relentless. Where they see weakness, we see opportunity. Where they sow terror, we sow precision and justice. And as Lyra's hand rested in mine, I understood something profound. The galaxy may be full of horrors, wars, and endless conflict, but humans, no matter how few, could change the tide of history. The stars above Zythera 7 glimmered with the fires of our victory. But in the dark corners of the void, the shadows of the Draxian lingered, plotting, scheming, and waiting. The next battle was inevitable. The final reckoning had begun. The void above Zythera 7 was alive with tension. The distant stars shimmered like watching eyes, silent witnesses to the coming storm. The Draxian swarm, enraged and humiliated, had returned, not as scouts or minor fleets, but with their full might. Dreadnoughts the size of small moons, swarming fighters, and orbital annihilation platforms filled the system, their engines glowing with lethal intent. Yet humanity was ready. Commander Rhiannon Holt stood on the bridge of the Terra Dominus, flanked by engineers, strategists, and pilots, all moving with mechanical precision. Every calculation had been run, every possible contingency analyzed. Humans had few numbers, but they had something far more dangerous: ingenuity, courage, and unwavering resolve. Deploy the adaptive grids across the planet's orbit. Synchronize railgun volleys with drone swarms. This will be their last engagement, Rhiannon ordered, his voice steady, betraying none of the tension that would paralyze lesser beings. Below, Lyra and her colony huddled in reinforced shelters. Her small hand gripped mine as I reassured her silently. Humanity would protect this world, no matter the odds. The Draxian advanced. Their dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously, plasma lances slicing through space, while fighters swept around to strike from unexpected angles. The galaxy had never seen such a combination of raw power and meticulous precision. But humans were not intimidated. Where other species faltered under overwhelming force, we thrived under pressure. Orbital strike pods erupted from hidden bays, intercepting the first volleys. Railguns fired in perfect synchronization, cutting swaths through Draxian armor before they could even adjust trajectories. Every ship was a node in a deadly network, every human pilot anticipating the enemy's moves as if predicting thought itself. Rhiannon activated the second phase, counter-infiltration drones. These small, near-invisible units boarded the largest Draxian dreadnoughts, hacking their command systems, turning their own weapons against the fleet. Ships exploded silently, drifting as wreckage into the void. Alien commanders howled in frustration. Humans were not only surviving, they were annihilating the apex predator from within. Below, The colony watched through observation domes. Lyra's mother whispered prayers of awe and disbelief. Children clutched at one another. Yet the most powerful symbol of humanity's extraordinary nature was Lyra herself. She had chosen me, and through that bond, the humans were not only defending, they were inspiring courage across an entire species. Ours turned into a relentless ballet of precision strikes, plasma beams, and calculated maneuvers. Entire sections of the Draxian fleet were neutralized. The survivors retreated, but there was no honor in their withdrawal, only desperation. Rian transmitted a final warning. His voice carried across the shattered communications network. Leave this system. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. And humanity will never yield. The Draxian fleet dispersed into hyperspace, leaving the system in ruins, but not defeated. They had underestimated us, and now their empire would bear the scar. Humanity had proven that even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, against the most ancient and fearsome adversaries, courage, intellect, and unity could prevail. The aftermath was quiet, almost surreal. Zythera 7's forests glimmered in the light of dawn, crystalline rivers reflecting the wreckage of orbiting warships. The colony emerged cautiously, marveling at their survival. The bond they had witnessed, the human courage and sacrifice, would become legend in their culture. I walked through the village, Lyra's hand in mine. She looked up, eyes filled with wonder. "You saved us," she whispered. I smiled, knowing the truth was greater than that. "We protected your home. And we will always protect those who place their trust in us. Humanity endures. We adapt. We rise. And we fight, not for conquest, but for life, for connection, and for justice." Above, the stars glittered with silent testimony. The galaxy had seen humanity's power, not in sheer force, but in resilience, strategy, and an unbreakable will. The Draxian may have thought they ruled the cosmos, but one lesson had been engraved forever: never underestimate humans. Lyra clung to me, a small human hand and alien hand intertwined, symbolizing what humans do best: not just survive, but inspire hope across species, bridge divides, and stand as protectors when the galaxy falters. And in the distance, beyond the shattered fleets and ruined moons, other civilizations took note. Rumors of humans' triumph spread like wildfire through the stars. The legend of their courage, intellect, and unparalleled resolve began to grow. The Draxian swarm had been humiliated, their empire forced to reckon with a species they had dismissed. Humanity had risen from a small colony, underestimated and belittled, to a force that even the oldest and most terrifying beings could not ignore. As the twin sun set, casting molten light across the floating rivers of Zythera 7, I realized something profound. The galaxy would never be the same. Not because humans sought conquest, but because we had reminded every corner of space what it truly meant to endure, to fight, and to rise. The bond between human and alien child, the spark that began this conflict, had become the flame that illuminated the galaxy. And humanity, as always, would rise to meet every shadow, every threat, and every challenge with courage and precision. The final reckoning was over. But the legend of humanity had only just begun.